Hello everybody, this is Episode 64, back again today with another video. And today I'm glad to share with you all a project I've been working a lot on and I'm spending a lot of time on, being the Mario Kart 9 Prediction Overhaul. Well, really it's a pre-prediction overhaul, as the game hasn't really been announced yet, but you get the point. This video will be going over every little thing that I think and what I expect to appear in the next installment of Mario Kart. So you may want to clear the next half hour, maybe. I'm not really sure the length of the video, but grab some popcorn or something, because you're going to be here for a little bit. Anyways, I hope you all enjoy, and let's get right to it. Alright. I think this game has an obvious chance at happening due to the fact how Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is currently the best-selling game on the Nintendo Switch, with 15.2 million sales as of recording, so Nintendo could easily make profit if they decided to make this game. As for the game's announcement and release, I think that for the moment the game could be announced as early as E3 this year in 2019, and as late as early 2020, due to how most Mario Kart games in the recent years have a roughly 3-year period release cycle. As for the gameplay, I think that a graphical update is not really necessary, but it would be really nice to see, as Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe obviously run on the exact same engine, therefore running fine on the Nintendo Switch. The game can still run on this engine as it performs perfectly on the system, but if they wanted to upscale the game further, they could use Unreal Engine 4, as Super Mario Odyssey and Yoshi's Crafted World run on that same engine, and they run perfectly as well. Now, when it comes to the game's mechanics itself, I think that the game's staple things should remain, such as kart customization, gliding, underwater, anti-gravity, as well as Grand Prix with 50 to 200cc and mirror mode, time trials, battle mode, and the online system with joinable tournaments and communities. I do think as well that Mario Kart needs a new feature that needs to be introduced in order for the series to evolve so it doesn't become stale. I can only think of two at the moment. One is a new feature to the game that's not as groundbreaking as, say, anti-gravity or gliding, but it's still a game changer, and the other is really just a quality of life change. The first change is the Hyper Warp Meter, and this new feature to the game is the center point around the entire game, which is why the logo is based off of a similar color scheme, and this is used alongside everything else. This meter builds up over time through activity, such as getting hit by items, hitting people with items, and picking up coins. The meter will allow you to boost ahead at light speed at your own command for a short period of time. Think of it as an enhanced golden mushroom. And the amount of time you travel depends on how much meter is charged. If you have full meter, you will travel for longer, while if you have low meter, then you will travel shorter. This can be controlled, as newer players to the series may struggle when using it, so they can use a weaker meter to gain speed without losing total control. Then as for the quality of life change, I think swappable items, like in Mario Kart Double Dash, should make a return. This means that, for example, if you have 2 items in your item slots, you would be able to swap them out between the first and second slot for a button press. So if you had a mushroom in your second slot, you could press a button to swap out the mushroom to use in your first slot. These two features I think would be an amazing addition to gameplay, as with the Hyper Warp Meter could have the possibility of determining the final moments of race depending on how much meter you or your opponents have. Let's talk about characters. As for the new roster for the game, I think that some changes need to be in order to keep the game Mario Kart, meaning that all non-Mario characters, being Isabelle, Link, the Villagers, and Inkling, are all cut, along with Baby Rosalina, Metal Mario, Pinkled Peach, Tanuki Mario, Cat Peach, and the Koopalings are also cut, just so the roster can make room for some more interesting and original characters, as well as some old favorites to return. So here's what I'm thinking a reasonable roster would look like for the game. With the unfortunate ones that happen to be cut, I think that bringing back long-forgotten characters such as Petey Piranha, Rob, and even Kamek, who originally was planned to be in Mario Kart 64, should show up in the roster, along with some returning favorites like Birdo and Diddy Kong should have been in Mario Kart 8 but didn't make their appearance. As for the 6 newcomers, I think they're all relevant enough to claim their spot on the roster, and they're pretty well all fan-favorite characters too. Pauline and Cappy have been in the spotlight a lot thanks to Super Mario Odyssey, and Pauline has already appeared in a spin-off title outside of Odyssey, being playable in Mario Tennis Aces. Kamek, like I mentioned earlier, was planned to be in Mario Kart 64 and again in Mario Kart 8, but was eventually scrapped, so I think that his chance of being here should be a pretty big one. Boom Boom has made the rounds lately, appearing in a number of Mario games over the recent years in modern day, and like Pauline is also currently playable in Mario Tennis Aces. EGAD was also planned to be playable, but scrapped back in Mario Kart DS. And with the recent release of Luigi's Mansion 3 supposedly coming out this year in 2019, his relevance is back on the table, so this could be a good marketing decision for that game if they did add him. And finally, there's King K. Rool, who really needs no introduction because his popularity alone got him to be revived from the dead and brought into the spotlight thanks to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And I think he'd be perfect to add alongside the rest of the roster, especially for the villain side. When it comes to the items in the game, I think that there should be a couple items removed from the already existing list in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as well as single and double item boxes returning, as I've already established with the item swapping mechanic. And before I get into my initial item roulette predictions, I do think that as much as I don't want it, the coin will return, but it won't appear as frequent in first to third place so often as in Mario Kart 8 or in Deluxe. Although the Hyper Warp meter increases from coin usage and through pickup, so they may be more important than you think. Anyways, here's what I think the items will look like this time around, and here they are. I think that the lineup that was present in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was pretty decent when it comes to item roulette, although there were a few people that wanted some items to return, and I've come up with some ideas to bring back old favorites and introduce new ones. Some notable favorites return, like the Mega Mushroom, Fake Item Box, and the Banana Bunch. As for some changes for the items, the coin obviously returns, and now your coin counter in the game has been increased to 20 instead of the previous 10, making it so your speed can increase more depending on how much coins you have, as well as more power given to the Hyper Warp meter. The Banana Bunch returns from Mario Kart 64, replacing triple bananas, meaning that instead of having 3 bananas circling you or trailing behind you, you will now have 5. The POW block also returns, but this time you cannot shake out of it like you could in Mario Kart Wii in order to dodge the effect. This in return will make the POW block a rare item to obtain, probably in the lower place. And finally, the blue shell returns, and it remains grounded, but it travels more of a back and forth zigzaggy-like motion instead of traveling like in a straight line in Mario Kart 8. And when the blue shell itself reaches the player in first place, it grows wings and strikes down, causing an explosion. As for the new items, starting off we have the P-switch, which turns all coins into brick blocks for 20 seconds, causing no coins to be collected on the board until that timer is up. Next is the oil barrel, which allows you to throw a barrel of oil either at another player or on the track as an obstacle. If you throw the barrel at the opponent, it causes them to both spin out and receive the blooper effect on the screen, causing them to be unable to see for a couple of seconds. But if you throw it on the track, it creates an oil spill that if someone drives on will spin out. Next is the 1-Up Mushroom, and this acts as a shield to items, and the shield will surround you like a green bubble of sorts, meaning that you can take one hit out of any item in the game, including lightning and blue shells. But it can only be used one time, and you can't have any items placed outside the shield, they're present on the inside, meaning that for items such as the red shell, they'll have to go through the shield once, making it vulnerable to hit the items inside, such as a banana trail. And finally, there's the Cloud9, which works just like the Crazy 8 and Lucky 7 from previous games, whereas this time around, 9 items will circle around you instead of 8 or 7. This also adds the Fake Item Box to the same list as the Crazy 8. Now, the tracks are an extremely important topic and really defines the series in my opinion, and I still think that a Nitro and Retro Grand Prix will be present, as both are staples to the series, meaning that for those who don't know, Nitro Grand Prix is Mushroom, Flower, Star, and Special Cups, while Retro Grand Prix is Shell, Banana, Leaf, and Lightning Cups. As for the Nitro Grand Prix, I'll keep my ideas limited for the tracks, because if I don't, then we'd probably be here for a couple hours. So, for some ideas for the Nitro Grand Prix, courses based off of levels in Super Mario Odyssey would be spectacular for a start, especially for marketing the game. Racing on levels like Metro, Cascade, and Luncheon Kingdom would make for some really unique level design, and Odyssey is a bestseller currently and is pretty recent, so implementing some aspects here wouldn't really be an issue. There could also be some inspired tracks from before, but adding a new twist onto them, like a successor to Rock Mountain, but it's food inspired, possibly taking the form of Rock Candy Mountain, being based off of Rock Candy Mines, the world from New Super Mario Bros. U. Or how about a carnival theme track, where you could drive through a carnival similar to the layout of Shy Guy Bazaar, but you could drive through certain rides and attractions like a Ferris wheel, a mirror room, or even a circus tent where if you perform tricks the audience would applaud you. Or maybe a desert track that starts out like an ordinary desert track like Dry Ruins, but later on you enter a forgotten tomb that leads to a futuristic pyramid that eventually raises into the sky. And of course there has to be staple tracks, like your first track in the Mushroom Cup, which needs to be a circuit or a stadium of sorts, and then there's your Mario Circuit, Bowser Castle, and Rainbow Road. Unlike those, I think that they should bring back some past track ideas and expand on them further, like a revamped Moo Moo Farm and Sherbet Land for some primary examples. Then for the Retro Grand Prix, there's not really a whole lot of options left for certain games such as Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart Double Dash, but I think I've come up with a reasonable and acceptable amount of past tracks that could be shown as fitting for the installment. Now, if you add these all up together, you may notice that for the tracks I chose, it adds up to 20 courses instead of the usual 16. Reason being because I think that there's going to be 2 additional unlockable cups, these being the Egg and the Bullet Cup, Egg for Nitro and Bullet for Retro respectively. And now, not to waste a whole lot of time, I'll show a rundown of the tracks I think will be brought back for Retro. That also includes the Bullet Cup. The Shell Cup begins with DS Figure 8 Circuit, serving as the basic starter circuit track for the Retro tracks, which then transitions into 3DS Daisy Hills, which has a simpler layout that introduces gliding and underwater pretty well. Followed up then by the redesigned GBA Riverside Park, which hosts a better feel to the prehistoric jungle theme to the track, along with a new gliding and underwater sections. Then concluding with Wii Toad Factory, which introduces some sharper turns and more difficult sections with outside of the factory, and ending off with a gliding section that leads into the final stretch of the track. Banana Cup begins with SNES Koopa Beach 1, which is a simple and linear beach track that mostly takes place underwater, similar to Dolphin Shoals. That's then followed up by 3DS Woohoo Loop, the first section retro track that takes place around the exterior of Woohoo Island. Followed up then by Wii DK Summit, which introduces a slew of difficult turns and a field of trickable snowbanks, along with a brand new gliding section. Then concluded with Wii U's Sunshine Airport, being a smooth and relaxing finish to the cup. Leaf Cup begins with DS Shroom Ridge, a somewhat difficult traffic-themed course that features a number of tricky turns and features a new gliding shortcut to maneuver the traffic safely. Then followed by Wii U's Shy Guy Falls, where you ascend and descend 2 waterfalls that implements all 3 features well, and features a more difficult track layout which fits the cup. Then followed up by N64 Wario Stadium, the last of Mario Kart 64's tracks to be remade. This track is now redesigned to feel less empty, now featuring more jumps, an underwater section, and more notable obstacles similar to Waluigi Stadium. That's also in similar vein, feeling-wise, to Mario Kart 8's remake of DS Wario Stadium. Then concluding with 3DS Rock Mountain, an easier ending to the cup but demonstrates good usability for gliding and the Hyper Warp meter. As for the new Retro Cup, the Bullet Cup begins with the redesigned GBA Sunset Wilds that now defines the canyon style it tried to have along before, with the multitude of Shy Guys and their huts appearing as obstacles, as well as the sunset transitioning into the nighttime over the period of 3 laps. After that, you move on to 3DS Wario Shipyard that now adds some anti-gravity sections to the latter end of the course, then followed up by Moo Moo Highway, and concludes with the beloved GCN Bowser's Castle, which has received a massive graphical update to look similarly to Mario Kart 8's Bowser's Castle, as well as 2 new anti-gravity sections taking place inside and outside the castle. Finally concluding up with the most difficult cup of all, the Lightning Cup. Starting off with one of Super Mario Kart's most hardest tracks being Vanilla Lake 2, which too sees graphical overhaul and is the first Vanilla Lake track to be remastered. This track features difficult turns thanks to the ice physics, as well as 2 underwater sections. Following that is the beloved and highly requested track GCN Wario Coliseum, which now features a much larger track layout, meaning that the track is now sectioned, making it a 1-lap track, as well as the majority of the track being anti-gravity. followed up then by Wii U's Electrodrome, one of the most popular tracks in Mario Kart 8, which will have probably no changes. Finally concluding with GBA's Rainbow Road, which at this point is kind of a staple to end off a game's Retro GP with a Rainbow Road track. You can imagine how this one will look in your own eyes, because who really knows what they'll change up with this one. Now, with all this in mind, I do think that the return of section tracks will appear, those being like Mount Wario, Woohoo Loop, and 3DS Rainbow Road. And I do think that they will be more frequent than ever, now thanks to the use of a more powerful software engine, and that they'll have more room. They can construct tracks that are massive in scale, and that will be those sectioned or one-lap tracks. Some that I used in particular were GCN Wario Coliseum and 3DS's Woohoo Loop, and I would say that they're going to be using the section tracks a lot more often now, like I said, thanks to that. But I do think that we'll still be seeing the normal 3-lap tracks more than them. I just think the opportunity shines for the section tracks to appear a lot more frequently. As for the other modes in the game, I think Grand Prix, Time Trial, Battle Mode, Versus Mode, Adventure Mode, and Online Multiplayer will all be present. Though, since I've already discussed some of the matter, here I'll be discussing the remaining modes being Battle, Adventure, and Online. To start with Battle Mode, I think that they'll keep it the same for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the most part, but also try to regulate it back to its original state. For the type of game modes in Battle Mode, I can see them bringing back 4 modes specifically, those being Balloon Battle, Shine Thief, Bob-omb Blast, and Renegade Roundup. To start, Balloon Battle returns, and I think it should be regulated back to its original method, being that they should use the Mario Kart 64 formula where you play with 3 balloons, and once you lose all 3 you respawn as a mini bomb cart and have the ability to blow up opponents. This way rounds will be shorter, people will still have a chance to continue playing when they lose, and there's a limited amount of balloons instead of having the ability to blow more back like in Mario Kart DS. Next up is Shine Thief, which returns from both Mario Kart Double Dash and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is the mode where you must obtain a shine sprite that appears on the course, and you must hold it for a 20-second count, and when it reaches 0, you or your team wins. In order to spice up this mode a little, they could expand on the team system where you could choose between 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, and the usual free-for-all, to make things more unique and intense. And I do think too that this would be a better replacement for both coin runners and shine runners, as I didn't really find those to be too exciting and competitive, as well as the two of them roughly being the exact same concept while having Shine Thief in replacement could make the time spent playing more noteworthy and thrilling. Next is Bob-omb Blast, which returns from the exact same 2 games before, where in this game mode is as simple it is, you can only receive Bob-ombs from random boxes, and you win based on how many points you get from hitting people with Bob-ombs. Once you receive a Bob-omb and continue to get more, they'll stack up, although you can also receive double and triple Bob-ombs exclusive to this mode, and they'll eventually stack up until they reach 10 total. I think that they should keep the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe version of this game mode instead of the Mario Kart Double Dash version, just because it's more regulated, though it still holds the exact same chaotic premise. And finally, there's Renegade Roundup, returning from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where, to sum it up briefly, it's just cops and robbers. I think that the introduction of this game mode in 8 Deluxe was really necessary in order to freshen up the battle mode in that game, and in this installment, I don't really think they should change up much with the game mode because it already works really well. Only thing I can see them changing that is worth changing is maybe some more frequent items to assist the cops more for catching the renegades, as well as less jails so the renegades can't escape as easy. As for the battle mode tracks, however, I think that there will be a total of 8 battle courses with 4 new tracks and 4 retro tracks. Starting with the Nitro maps, there should be a course where you drive off the top and on the inside of an airship, along with clouds surrounding it. A course based off of Yoshi's Woolly World and Yoshi's Crafted World would be pretty suitable too, as well as a course based off of the Lost Kingdom from Super Mario Odyssey. And to tally it off, a course based off of the layout of a Nintendo Switch, similar to the previous battle tracks being the GameCube and the DS stages for Mario Kart DS and Double Dash respectively. Then for the retro courses, there's N64's Double Deck, GBA's Battle Course 4, DS's Tart Top, and finally Wii's Delfino Pierre. Next up is online play, where I think for the most part that things should remain the same for this mode, meaning that Versus Mode and Battle Mode with worldwide and regional options should return along with tournaments, and I think that the Friends list should return and work similarly to Mario Kart Wii's Friend list, where each player receives a profile, and on that profile with your stats and the works, you receive a friend code, so people can add you through a friend code through that way for the friends list, as well as your friends already registered on the Nintendo Switch will automatically be there if they have Mario Kart 9. One thing they could introduce or bring back as well is an online squad battle, like the online tournament events in Mario Kart Wii, where you and a full lobby of people will join and take on a boss enemy on a specific stage, similar to the bosses from Mario Kart DS's mission mode and other bosses that I will talk about later. I can also see Mario Kart TV returning, but now that mode probably featuring a better replay system and now allowing you to save unlimited replays and have access to your most recent 10 races to edit and save accordingly. Think of this as similar to Smash Ultimate's replay and editing system, something similar to that. Now here's Adventure Mode, and I think that this mode is really going to change the course of Mario Kart, and I want this game mode to stand out and have some possible replay value and ability, as well as making it memorable. Unlike Mario Tennis Ace's story mode, which wasn't memorable at all, and really held no purpose. As for a story, I generally can't come up with one, but as for the gameplay itself, I can. It'll play similarly to Diddy Kong Racing in a way, where you'll start off as Mario in an open world hub, where featured in this hub world you can explore a number of areas or worlds in the hub that each have their own theme which corresponds to an existing course in the game. This can be both nitro and retro, keep in mind. There would be 8 worlds total, with 5 missions per world and a boss mission at the end of each world. The 8th and final world would be a boss rush world, with the final boss obviously being at the very end. Since there are roughly 28 levels in Adventure, with 20 courses total in the base game, as well as the courses in the base game possibly not fitting to some of the world themes, you can expect to see some retro courses exclusive to be playable in this game mode. As for the bosses themselves, I think that it would be fitting to have bosses seen from Mario Kart DS's mission mode already, as well as new boss ideas such as ones that have appeared in more modern Mario games such as King Fin, Goom Boss, Boss Broider, and Knuckletech. As for other features in this mode, moons from Super Mario Odyssey could be the main collectible here as well, acting as the central item used to unlock new worlds and levels, along with others. This mode too could act as another method for both unlocking characters and new kart parts through the use of moons. Some kart parts could be exclusive to this mode as well, only being unlockable say if you 100% a world's missions, you would receive a kart body revolving the theming of the world. And better yet, an exclusive set once you beat the final boss and 100% completing the mode overall. And that covers all the modes I think that will be present. The push towards the return of mission mode in the form of a whole new adventure mode to the game would certainly pick up attention, same to Mario Tennis Aces did prior, but I think this mode would be a lot more expensive than Tennis Aces because that adventure mode didn't perform as well as many thought. On one final note too, I can see additional paid content or DLC happening in this game's lifetime as well. Seeing how the 2 Mario Kart DLC packs sold really well when they were released, and as for the content, I have little to no idea what they could do, but if they kept the same format they used in Mario Kart 8's DLC, being 2 cups, 2 characters, and 4 kart parts, then I think that would be a pretty good deal for consumers. But besides that, that practically concludes my expectations and predictions for Mario Kart 9. This video took an extremely long time to produce and is one of my biggest projects, if not is the biggest project to date. Scripting alone took, I'd say, a couple of weeks, so whatever attention this video gets, I will appreciate. Editing and processing, besides that, I started this back in February, so this project of mine took a really long time to complete, and like I said, any attention this video is going to get, I will appreciate. And if you agree, disagree, or would like to add on or explain any of your own predictions yourself, then please feel free to comment down below, because I read all my comments and it would be interesting to see what else other people can come up with as well. I'll probably make another one of these in the future depending on the success of this video, but I really wanted to put this out because I feel that I needed some way to let out my ideas for a game like this, so I really hope you all enjoyed it. And with that, thank you all for watching once again, and this is Exode64, signing off.